David Knight for Infowars.com here at the Democrat National Convention in Philadelphia, and they just had a rally here, an I'm with Nina rally, which was essentially a protest by a lot of high-profile figures on the left, unhappy about the process and how this has unfolded. We've got a couple of people here who were part of that, who were there, and of course, they didn't have a PA system, I understand.
No, we couldn't hear a thing they said, but we still got to chant and support.
And who was there?
There was Rosario Dawson and Shailene Woodley and Danny Glover, Susan Sarandon. Have I missed anybody?
I don't know.
There was a couple of people I didn't really recognize. There was Portia Bulger, who started Women for Bernie.
But, you know, you're just delegates. You're upset about the price. Well, you're just delegates. You're not celebrities, right? So,
Right,
but it's still important. What I was going to say is, even though you're just delegates and you're not celebrities that the whole world knows about, you still have something to say about this process.
Oh, sure.
And even though we are, I would say, libertarian, conservative, on the other side of the issue, we want to have open and free elections. So tell us what you think about this whole situation.
Well, I just think it's been shocking. We've been totally shut down, particularly in the convention. And I don't know if you know that Nina Turner was going to actually introduce the nomination for Bernie, and an hour before she was due to go on, she was pulled because she wouldn't endorse Hillary.
Oh, okay, all right.
And the other part about that was, after they asked Nina to not stand up with Tulsi and do the official nomination for Bernie, they were also planning to play a great video, I'm hearing, that included Nina Turner, and they wouldn't let that play either. So all we got for Bernie, instead of this amazing new compilation that no one had seen before that was going to be here at the National Democratic Convention, they used the America commercial, which we've all seen.
Yeah, right.
And so that's pretty disappointing.
Okay, so we've known for a long time that the DNC has got close links and has got their thumb on the scale for Hillary Clinton. It's no secret. We've talked to college students in North Carolina who said, hey, we finally figured out that the state party is in for Hillary, okay? And we don't even tell them what we're planning to do because they always manage to sabotage it. But the difference is that after we got these emails, it was like the Snowden leaks. We'd had NSA whistleblowers and other people saying, hey, they're doing dragnet spying, but it doesn't become real until you get the documents. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about all this kerfuffle? I mean, now it's all about, it's almost like a new McCarthyism. It's like, the Russians did it, the Russians did it.
Oh.
Don't look at the emails because it's like, look over there. And what do you think about that?
I just think it's like a cult almost. They've kind of got this blinders on about any faults about the Clintons, and the Clintons just control everything. This was just staged. The whole convention has been completely orchestrated, and right down to where we sit, because all the Bernie states were at the back and the Hillary states were down the front. And even the opening prayer, when we hadn't had a roll call vote, she was not the official nominee by then. They were praying for Hillary.
And not even using the word presumptive.
No,
that's what made us
never.
so upset. Everyone thinks we're really bad for having gotten upset, but I credit us for getting so upset universally across the entire delegation from state to state. We didn't have communication that said, do this. That's how the Hillarys do things together. They have a very good communication system. We have some communications between the states, but it's not very official and it's not very solid. We are very independent thinkers.
Well, it's a grassroots situation, and they don't want a multi-party democracy. They want to have two parties that they tightly control. They control the debates, they control ballot access, they control everything within those parties, which makes it really kind of surprising that Trump got through, on the Republican side. But going back to what they did with Bernie, going back to November, just before the Iowa caucus, they accused somebody who was a low-level aide of getting across the firewall, which who knows if they let that open or whatever, okay? But they accused that, and they shut down all their access to all the voters. But then there were no recriminations against the DNC or Wasserman, Schultz, and all this stuff. What do you think?
Well, I actually credit Bernie Sanders for the way that he didn't just keep kicking and screaming each time something really ugly happened, because he said in the beginning it's rigged. Mm-hmm. And he said in the beginning it was going to be hard. Yeah. And he said in the beginning it probably wouldn't work. He said we would have to have a political revolution, and that it would have to be larger than large, and that we would need millions. And we had 13 million, and I think we needed more like 50 million. And I'm really sorry that it didn't work out, and I know how hard each and every one of us worked. I've seen all of my young delegates just crumble. And
Well,
it's,
let me ask you moving forward, because now let's talk a little bit about the issue, okay? The big issue in the room, okay, is TPP. That's what I see all the Bernie delegates having here. Now, you know, when we looked at the Republican convention that we covered, after it was almost like Trump came in to the other side, he offered an olive branch with his vice presidential pick. Hillary, after she consolidated power here, she was in your face about the TPP. And we've had Terry McAuliffe, a close confidant of the Clintons, has now had 4 different positions on the TPP in the last 24 hours. Do you really believe that she is not going to hand over the economy as well as so many other aspects, you know, our food labeling, our internet privacy? Do you honestly believe that she's going to listen to the Democrats and not pass TPP?
Oh no, I think she'll pass it. I think she'll push it through the fast track. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's been said that she's already kind of turned, if you like. Now she's the nominee.
yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared about that one. That's
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue, and it's horribly scary for so many things and levels, and probably, yeah, we probably lost it. You know, I tried.
We're about
to
out of
be
time, but I want to ask
positive.
you. Let me ask you one other issue, and that is the banking situation. Okay, Glass-Steagall is going to be in the official platform. It made it into the Republican platform over the consternation of the Republican leadership. Okay, but everybody understands that that's a bad thing, the repeal of Glass-Steagall. Even before that, Bill Clinton was involved in the consolidation of the banks. I was in North Carolina at the time. I know when they consolidated, made the biggest bank ever, said it's going to result in a half dozen banks. How do you feel about that? Do you think this cozy relationship between Goldman Sachs and Wall Street and the bankers with the Clintons, I mean, you know, do you really think they're going to put any regulations back on the banks, or is it going to be privatize the profit, socialize the losses all over again?
I don't think they'll put any regulations back on at all, despite what the platform is, because her VP was just last week, her VP nominee, I should say,
Yeah.
just last week was talking about more deregulation on the banks. So,
Yeah.
It's gonna be a "we told you so" situation. That's all we're gonna have left.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you very much. David Knight here at the Democrat National Convention for Infowars.com.
Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex.